Good evening, afternoon, or morning for that matter. Whatever the time or phase of the sun it may be, I welcome you to my critical analysis of Doctor Who's Robot of Sherwood. So far in the series we have had some atrocities come up, and we have also had some excellent ideas brought to the table. Will this episode be as daring as a Dalek, or as pathetic as a trampled cat? That's beside the point. Let's watch some Doctor Who clips with my voice over the top. So right from the get-go I realised that Robin Hood would be a bad idea. Not only has the BBC already done 3 whole series based on the bloke, but this is where the cheapness of it all comes into play. One of the producers was probably quite like this. Hey, remember that show people used to watch when Doctor Who wasn't on? We could use the sets from that and make an episode of Doctor Who around it. Oh, great idea, John, especially considering last week's episode burned a pretty deep hole in our budget. Going back to the episode, the delivery and setup of Clara wanting to go and meet Robert Hood just seems so false and cheesy. Music's so cheerful, Clara's smiling, yet I'm neither of those two.
The fuck?
Hey, BBC, you've already covered Robin Hood. Come up with something original. Also, she's a bloody English teacher. Why wouldn't she want to go and meet, like, a great novelist of the past? So, the Doctor walks out of the TARDIS and this very lingering shot of him ranting about the impossibility of Robin Hood's existence is shown. What's more frustrating is that I knew that the arrow would hit the TARDIS before Robin even fired his bow, who then stands up in a rather camp fashion and winks. His decision to wink confuses me because the distance between the two would probably result in the Doctor not being able to see the wink. The title credits roll and I see the episode is written by Mark Gatiss, or Gatiss. I recognise him more for his roles as an actor and that he co-created Sherlock with Stephen Moffat. But his Doctor Who writing isn't exactly outstanding, so I'm gonna say it's not likely this episode's gonna be anything special either. Anyway, the Doctor pulls out his spoon so he can fend off old Robin Hood. Matt Smith had his fez, which I didn't particularly have a problem with, but now it's as if all of a sudden the Doctors now need a gimmicky object to make them look cool. However, the absolute sheer ridiculousness of the fight wherein which the Doctor wins the fight with his little spoon without it being chopped right in two makes me realise I should probably turn off my brain by this point. Wait, what? Turn off my brain? But then I'll die! Oh, you guys. The cheesy stock adventure music is then played whilst Robin and his wench have a good old laugh at the grumpy old man who's been pushed into the water. We then cut to a peasant's village where an old man's daughter is being taken to be a slave. No fucking way. No fucking way. Is that Mace Tyrell from... That's right, you guessed it. Game of Thrones! Wow, Mace. The Lannisters really must have shunted their debts onto you guys. Look at you. 3 episodes in a row now and we've had 3 stars of Game of Thrones being picked off. I'm actually wondering if this is some sort of running joke aimed at Game of Thrones fans like myself, perhaps implying that they kill too many characters in it? I have no idea. But if this is the case, kudos to the casting team. However, they need to realise that what stands Game of Thrones apart from Doctor Who is that the characters are developed to make you sympathise with them, and then killed in the most horrific ways possible. Because Doctor Who is shown at 7 in the evening and the episodes aren't displaying complete continuity, they don't exactly have the same amount of time to put into these characters, only to somehow show the implied brutality of what's happening in the given time period. So Ben Miller shows up as the Sheriff of Nottingham and stabs Mace in the belly. What is really painfully obvious about the 7 o'clock problem is that Ben's sword has absolutely no blood on it when he takes it out of Mace's belly, but feels the need to wipe his sword with a hanky nonetheless. Is this showing his royalty or something? I really haven't the foggiest idea. So the episode feels it necessary to reintroduce us to Robin Hood's band of merry men, with the Doctor acting very strange around all of them, stealing shoes, pinching hairs, and making blood samples. He doesn't have to be a dick around them, but he's clearly finding an excuse for them not to be real. I wish all those books in his TARDIS and scribblings on his chalkboard could just give him a simple yes or no as to whether they're real or not. Robin then chats up Clara and the writer throws in a "Nottingham's a pretty dull place to be" line that I can't quite seem to shrug off. I myself have never been there, but I reckon anybody who has a pleasant life in Nottingham has probably just changed the channel to watch whatever else is on at this awkward time in the evening, or just turned their TV off in frustration, and possibly a bit offended. So the contest for the golden arrow has almost ended when the Doctor shows up and fires a dead straight arrow. Robin then fires, and they continue to fire arrows as they split a ridiculous amount of times. The prize bearer is quite unsure what to make of the events, as do I, and then the Doctor then makes the first positive mark on the episode. He recognises that the script is just getting a bit ridiculous and we need some seriousness to keep us all interested. Sorry, let me rephrase that. We need some serious to keep me interested. So the gang are then arrested and the robots in armour start shooting lasers all over the place. I'm unsure why it's used, but the Wilhelm scream is used when a random peasant dies in the blaze of the action. I remind you, BBC, you are not Hollywood. The Doctor disarms Robin with a martial art move we haven't seen since John Pertwee, and they get arrested. We again see more 7 o'clock brutality from the robots as the robot disintegrates a slave who can no longer work. Then comes the longest and one of the most uninteresting scenes I've ever seen in Doctor Who. Robin Hood and the Doctor are arguing like little children. I would rather the Doctor acted like a grown man who knew he was better than this Robin Hood and would just admit he was wrong about his supposed existence. I would prefer him also to just relax, knowing he has a plan to get out of the situation, like he has done many times before. This boring scene of bickering goes on for about 4 minutes before Clara is taken away, and then goes on for a substantial amount of time afterwards of more bickering. It is then revealed that the robots and the sheriff require gold above all else, as he has dinner with Clara. We are then back to the squabbling boys in the cell again, and they attempt to get the guards' attention. Despite their attempts, they start implicitly annoying each other, and this annoys me even more than they are annoying each other.
Talk about making noise! How would you like to be rich? Now go! Well, I don't have it here. Now go!
We then find that the sheriff needs gold to power his robot spaceship. Then the Doctor and Robin escape the cell. Despite this, the Doctor and Robin still feel the need to get on each other's nerves, by Robin's laughing and the Doctor's whinging. They then find the spaceship and the series cock tease is shown again. The robots are going to the same place that the other robots were going to, hooray! But still some silly explanations are made. For example, the reason the weather is so sunny is because of radiation? Oh, fine, whatever. I think I should point out that this Promised Land and Missy subplots are given away far too explicitly. In Chris Eccleston's series, Bad Wolf was the subplot and wasn't made a massive thing of. And it wasn't until the last 3 episodes that this whole Bad Wolf thing was actually revealed to be there throughout the entire series. What I don't get is why they're force-feeding these subplots to us as if to say, remember this, otherwise you won't understand future episodes. It's a bit frustrating, but I'm still enticed to find out what it's all really about. So the sheriff blows open the door that the Doctor opened with his bare hands 2 minutes ago and attacks Robin Hood. One of the robots then stupidly blows a hole in the wall for Robin and Clara to escape in. The Doctor is then knocked out and they recycle an establishing shot used earlier, only dimmed to make it look like it's evening. The Doctor then starts an uprising in the dungeons and somehow figures out that the robots' lasers can be bounced back using the golden plates they need for their ship. So really, gold is like their kryptonite, like Superman, right? Lots of practical effects were used in this scene and I'm happy not all of it was CG'd, but the whole golden plate thing is still quite laughable. The Doctor then continues to question Robin's legitimacy, who then shows up in the nick of time. You know I was saying in Deep Breath about villains without brains? I'll be damned if this moron of a sheriff has quite enough brain cells in him to survive. When Robin Hood and the sheriff start to duel, I'm confused as to why he deactivates the robots. I can understand his motive for fighting 1v1 in the name of honour, but we saw earlier the sheriff complaining that it was the Doctor's fault there were lots of explosions going off and the peasants were rioting. Surely then, he should get one of the robots to hold the Doctor in place just in case he starts getting violent again? Ah well. He's going to boil in a pit of gold anyway. We all know. The characters escape the crumbling castle, but the ship could detonate before it's even reached the atmosphere. Oh no! So the golden arrow comes into play, and I did wonder if it would come into use later on, and it does. They learnt their lesson from the self-combusting dinosaur. Anyway, we have this rather funny moment where none of the characters can properly shoot an arrow and then find themselves on the ground trying to get as much momentum into the arrow as possible. It doesn't seem quite logical that the arrow should add any quantity of gold to the ship and should really just start leaking gold from the ship itself. However, they use the plot device and I'm fine with this outcome. They have learnt their lesson. So the robots reach escape velocity and the ship blows up. Everything's back to its merry way, and then Clara claims she's going to miss Robin, despite she has known him a few hours to say the least. The Doctor then leaves Marion behind and the episode ends. So, did it suck? Sadly, yes. I'd say it did. I give this episode a 4 out of 10 because there really isn't much to talk about compared to the previous two, and I honestly believe that this episode was just a throwaway script to fill in blanks, as I didn't really feel disappointed, but I knew what I was going in for as soon as the words Robin Hood were mentioned.